Welcome. This is BJA today, and of course, I'm BJ Arnett. You know, sometimes you meet people in your path of life that just kind of make you think, kind of make you go, this is a real person. This is someone that I can talk to, someone that I can relate to. There's some similarity, a path that you have and a path that they have. Somehow it kind of flows together. Well, this lady is one such person that I met. Some months ago, I was walking through a big convention that my husband had said, we are going. And I'm being a good wife, we're going. And he said, you got to meet this lady. You'll really like her. And sure enough, we met. And all at once, I felt like I had met someone that I've known a very long time. Well, after this conversation, I think you'll know her a very long time, too. It's just that kind of thing. Christina Lee Storm. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's so much fun because, you know, we always say that women are different and we do things a little differently. Mm-hmm. We met in the hallway and my husband introduced you to me, and then later we met in the bathroom. It's like that old song, Meeting in the Ladies' Room. Yeah. Then we started giggling and taking selfies. It's so cool to have you here today, and thank you so much for being here. It's nice to meet a woman who has done so many great things in the film industry. And you maintain a whole life, a wonderful husband, 2 precious little boys, and this tremendous lifestyle and business. There's Act One, multicultural, a really faith-based company that gives us a real heart for who you are. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you've got Life After Pie, the documentary that you did after the experience of working with Life of Pi. Mm-hmm. Then there's this diversity program that you've told me about. And then there's the Producers Guild of America. And I could go on and on and on. Okay, so right now, there's a woman out there saying, how in the world? There's a man saying, hey, I don't know now, there's a lot going on. How do you balance it? What makes life tick for you so that your path is exactly the way you know God has it for you?
I mean, I'm inspired by God. I think, you know, we're really only here on earth for a very short period of time. And to be honest, it started when my best friend, since I was 9 years old. We had graduated from college, and she actually, unfortunately, had been killed by a drunk driver.
Wow.
At the age of 22. And that really challenged my understanding of time and our purpose and meaning. And so from that point on, I've always kind of looked at life as you just don't know. Our expiration date, we're not really sure. And so what is it that God wants for us in our life? Are we living each day to the fullest? And are we being a good steward of our gifts and talents that He's given? And so I start off in that respect with God just being the inspiration. And then a lot of people always ask me, like, how is this possible?
Right.
And really, Sheryl Sandberg, we were talking about Sheryl Sandberg and Lean In, she does talk about her husband who also works. And it's a partnership. And that's really what it is that my husband, I can't do half of those things without having this amazing partner. Mm-hmm. And he also is in the film industry. He's a screenwriter and a story consultant. And, you know, we work life together. And sometimes he's like, you know, has to adjust because I'm traveling or whatnot. And we do the same. We both have films in the film festival circuit happening this year, so it's been really fun. Like the traveling's been a little bit nutty, but I think it comes down to that, and it's just also this idea of grace. We're also looking at, it's not like guilt in the sense of family guilt. It's more about what can we be doing to also inspire our children. So they do see us traveling and everything. And they do have babysitters that, you know, because we have events and things, but it's a full life. They see like us engaging, you know,
with other people all the time. Mm-hmm. One of the things that drew me to you, because I'm very much about our children and the children that I deal with every day, and all of them are mine, period. Yeah. You know, it's like, you're mine, that's it. But one of the things that pulled me to you was watching you with your husband and your boys. And saying, no, not now. And, you know, you'd never stop being a mom, because many people say, okay, I've got to put mom down so I can do my work. You didn't do that. You were doing your work and being mom at the same time. Yeah. And it was like hilarious, because I thought, you know, and your guys are little guys.
Yeah.
They're, you know, they're not teenagers.
Yeah.
They need the instruction of dad and mom. Yeah. But everything was just moving right along, and they were still being children and still having a great time. But you were still about mission and purpose of getting the workshops done that I got an opportunity to be a part of. I want to go delve into how you are able to step into this realm called producer, keep your sanity, of course, and be a part of so many wonderful projects. You've had some really awesome opportunities. Life of Pi, of course, but then the documentary of Life After Pi. Just talk about those two for a moment.
Yeah, you know, it really, to me, you just sort of just take one step in front, and there's this faith factor where you just don't know.
Yeah.
I always tell Act 1 students as they're going through the program, take the job. You just don't know who you're going to meet. And so I came upon working at a visual effects company. I'd been sort of a little bit burnt out in production, and so I was looking for something a little bit more
calmer.
Yeah, calm, normal hours. And a friend had emailed, oh, you know, the company I'm working at is looking for folks in their department. And I read the description. I was like, oh, I think I could do that, except for one thing. I don't know anything about visual effects.
Stop it.
Yeah. So
Nothing.
Nothing. And they had asked me, you know, in the interview, it's like, what's like, what would be a weakness? I said, I don't know anything about visual effects. So I got in the job. I think they understood that I got management and understood leadership, and really what it is that conflict resolution and like working with teams. And so, like, it was about 30 days in, we were having an open house, and I told my boss, was like, he's such a sweetheart. He was like, so how's it going? I said, I feel like I'm in a different country and I'm learning the visual effects language, because it was completely a different language.
Different life.
Yeah, completely different language that they use, very technical, most amazing, the brightest, smartest, artistic people on the planet.
Wow.
And, you know.
And, you know, here's what I know. I know there's so many stories outside of that. But we're going to take a break right now, because I want to come back to this one thing. How you pull that off in the midst of really not knowing it. You said a key word that's important that I really want to talk about. Leadership. We'll be back in a moment, you guys.
The inherent right to work is one of the elemental privileges of a free people. Endowed, as our nation is, with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be, with the high purpose to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all. We approach this problem of reemployment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
We're back with Christina Lee Storm, and where we stopped was, you know, how it gets really good, and then, you know, you got to stop for a second. We were just about to find out about this leadership style that she has. This woman went from knowing nothing about her area now to knowing everything. What was that key thing about leadership that you tapped into to be able to figure this all out? You're in a world, like you said, that you didn't know the language.
Yeah, I think my boss in the department I was going to be working with, they understood, okay, she doesn't have the language, but she has the production experience and she has the skills, and there's like a DNA in leadership where you are willing to, you can kind of see where people are great at what they do, and you want to try to help them like grow, and then you're not afraid of difficult conversations. And so I think the clencher would they had asked, strengths, and I went through like my strength finders, and then I said, I'm reading a book actually that has been really insightful. It was called Difficult Conversations, and it was actually recommended by one of my pastors. And they all started laughing, like when I
because they all were reading it.
Because John Hughes, who's like the founder of Rhythm Hughes, said was wanting all of the management to read this book, and then also encourage the employees to also read it. So there was that common ground. And I think the thing with leadership is that not to be scared of failure. It's like, okay, I don't know this. I'm willing to go at it and try and ask questions and be, it's that whole fail fast. So it took a little bit of time, but I was willing to, and people allowing you to, take a risk with you.
And if you don't take risk, you never, especially big risk, if you don't take big risk, you won't have big gain.
Yeah.
So you've got to step out and try it.
And to be honest, I think, we don't really have anything to lose. Like, what is it? Is it our reputation? Because it's really, if I look at my job and how my faith intersects with that, I should be able to do whatever, because it's actually God's strength and it's His abilities, His moving through, giving me favor, or just putting me in places where it's like, oh, I'm here, okay, and that's where I think that fearlessness comes from, is from Him. He's the inspiration for that. So the willingness, and of course, you fail and you're like, oh,
this is a bummer, but I don't know if I can do that.
It's also that moving on.
Yeah,
so.
And being able to pick yourself up and, dust yourself off and just keep moving in the direction that He's got for you.
Yeah.
But then, in that leadership realm, here you are with the Producers Guild of America, and you are a treasurer and on the board of directors. Am I correct?
Yeah.
How are you moving in that facet, and what do you see for the area of production for women and for a faith base at this time?
I mean, what I love about the Producers Guild and why I love serving is because everyone who's in leadership there, either on the national board or their officers, really have a servant leadership heart. They want to kind of pave the way for our industry, and what we've been doing has been amazing. Mark Gordon and Hawk Koch started the PJA mark. They're the ones that said we can do this. We can get this mark that identifies the truth and credits of what a producer does.
Wow.
And we will help. We will ask studios to sign up for it because it's the right thing to do. Mark Gordon's always he says it's the right thing to do, and he kept going back to them. And so I love being able to be in the room with these other fellow colleagues and leaders, and just for the benefit of the industry, one, and then also for just supporting my colleagues as producers. It's like, what is it can we be doing as a collective group to be the leaders? I mean, that's really what the producers are. We get the best picture because we are helming this entire process in this, and
you're honing in on the process and on the people who are the right fit.
Yeah,
and I think that's the key too.
And the funny thing when you talked about my boys is to be a really good producer is like a nurturer, but it's really, you're like sort of like mom.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of times the mom part of me comes out when I'm dealing with people, because it's very similar kind of being understanding but firm
and pressing someone to their best.
Yeah.
So it never fails. You continue that process over and over again. You get them to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Now that is perfect, because that brings me to what you're doing with Act One and all of this transition that you've gone through and growth that you've gone through with Act One, and then you shoot off to do some things about diversity. Talk to me about that. What are you trying to get people to see, understand, and feel when you get to this part?
Yeah. So I'm the co-chair of the Producers Guild Diversity Workshop. I think the thing that I really like about it is the idea that everyone should have a voice. That like a diverse group of voices should be heard. And sometimes those, because it's diverse, it might not have the platform because it's not mainstream. And so what I love, it's very similar in the work that I do with Act One, which is we help foster, we workshop, we equip the fellows who are part of the diversity workshop and helping to make their projects the best. We and we push them to be at a place where they can sort of launch off from there and just gain a lot of experience. And that's really similar to what Act One does, but Act One's focus is really to equip. We're like an incubator for Christians who want to work in mainstream Hollywood. And so we're trying to equip them so that they can be excellent at their crafts.
You know, that is a place of pause in that it is a big deal to step into your excellence and know that you're a person of faith and have such a big industry to go into. But we're going to talk a whole lot more about that because we're in a state. Georgia is now at, I believe, $69 billion, ladies and gentlemen, $69 billion a year in revenue. And we want everyone to get a part of that, right? Okay, well, we'll be back in the morning. We'll talk more about how you get involved with Georgia, LA, and of course, Christina Lee Storm.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
We've been talking a lot about how you personally can shift and move in a pattern that allows you to get a part of what I call the Georgia's Big Pie. But Christina Lee Storm has done some wonderful things to just step out on her own to help ignite people. With Act One, that's really what you're doing, igniting people of faith who love this industry called filmmaking. Talk to us about a day in the life of a student at Act One and how they move into really getting the kind of jobs that they're interested in.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have two programs. We started as a screenwriting program. There wasn't really anything that was allowing people of faith to really learn the craft. And so in 1999, which that's when we were founded, with First Presbyterian Church in Hollywood, they felt like there was a need to equip this next generation, wanting to impact not only Hollywood, but also the culture through the content. And then we also have an amazing producing program. It's for producers and executives. And really what we try to do through both programs is the idea of having professionals actually do the teaching. But what's exciting, how's it different from Sundance or, we have Film Independent on the West Coast, is that we intersect our faith and our work with our art. It's all three things coming together. So we can have faith, work, and art.
All
three melding together, which is really who we are.
Right.
As a whole person, that's who we are.
Right.
We are doing all of those things at the same time. And so when I'm in a studio office, how is my faith intersecting if I'm just answering calls or I'm just writing script coverage? Where does my faith play into this? And how can I be light and salt? If I'm in a writer's room and I'm writing something and, where does my faith come into that? Maybe it's an interesting kind of script or story or maybe slightly conflict of interest. How do you bring that in? How do you still bring God into the picture of that and be professional? So we really focus on excellence of craft, depth of spirit, so your relationship with God, and then commitment to community. And those three things are really what's important, because when people come out of the program, it's really about the community that they've just built. This like the alumni.
While they were in the program.
Yes, and then
Right.
even outside after you've graduated, you're part of this now 800 plus alums that could be in LA, they could be all over the world. We have people, we have alums all over the world. So you have this immediate shared dictionary, I like to say, because you've gone through the boot camp, and you're able to connect and start to collaborate together. And I think the other part of it is, I always say when I'm on different panels talking to students that are like looking to maybe get into the industry, it's like, I think if you're a person of faith, your relationship to God is what's going to inspire you and keep you also in Hollywood or in the industry, whether that be now, is it
Because
in Atlanta?
without him, you're going to go nuts in this industry.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard,
difficult.
and it's difficult. And I think the other thing is really this: what is the purpose? What is the purpose of it? Is it? And so I think if it becomes something outside of yourself, then it's really a cause. And I think that's why people can stay the path and become a huge impact on culture and in the industry.
When you decided to go so far into depth with Act One, was it resonating out of you because you're a graduate and you're an alumni? You saw what it did for you. Did you just say, "I want to turn back and help someone
It's so
else
funny
get
because
through"?
I ended up going to Act One after Rhythm and Hughes went into bankruptcy.
Really?
They asked me to stay, but I decided
It's
that
time.
It's time. My husband and my best friend both were like, "It's time." Yeah, and so it's really interesting. It combines every part of my toolkit all into one. And I look back and now, and I'm like, okay, this totally makes sense this time right now, because leadership, what I was doing at Rhythm Hughes is very much similar to what I'm doing at Act One. It's like cultivating, developing, growing people, and then the aspect of the strategy to how do we work at in our craft with excellence. So what are the tools needed? That to me is being strategic and being smart, as well as understanding the industry. So I like that part of it. And then the community aspect of it is I have a heart for Hollywood.
Yeah.
And when I say Hollywood, I mean the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
And so it's that part of it is I that's why I love serving. It's like I love serving
Through this field.
Yeah.
When we're in the state of Georgia, and as I said earlier, $69 billion a year, and everyone in Georgia is saying, okay, how do I get my piece of that? The state would talk about locations. Your home could be a location. Your business could be a location. And then there's students who are going through film classes here, who want to launch out as producers, as directors. And what would be your advice to folks who are really at that place where they're independent film folks and they want to reach higher heights?
Yeah.
They want to be excellent. They want to see their career reach something that has never been seen before until we got to a war room in Christian filmmaking.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some of the core things that you see need to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have Christian film, faith-based film, kind of rise up to the level, the production value level of War Room. I think there's still a lot of room to grow for people of faith who want to do faith-based or gospel, and I like to call gospel-centered films. And I think it's the story part of it. And it's like, how do you weave authentic storytelling into what you're trying to say? Because a lot of times the messages are what gets us excited. It's our passion.
Yes.
But it's like, can we weave it in a way that actually becomes authentic? So maybe someone who doesn't go to church, and that's my inspiration, is I want to make something for as many eyeballs as possible. I don't necessarily want to just make it for
Right.
a certain
you want to use
demographic.
it as an evangelistic tool, pull every eye.
Yeah,
and let someone see.
You know, I think God is. We know, as the scripture says, that He shows Himself, He manifests Himself in so many different ways.
Yes.
Through the wind, through nature, through people, you know, through all these different things. And so I think it's like allowing people to have that interaction in a way that's as God moves, as the Spirit moves, not necessarily as maybe direct, you know. And I think if people, you know, who want to really do their work at a high level of excellence, I think the number one thing is it does take time, and there's not a need to rush. And I think a lot of times what I see, and this is what's happening even in the film that I'm a producer on, Blind Courage, is that we're taking our time with the development process. We have to get the script right, because that's the blueprint. You know, if I'm going to build this house, the blueprint's got to be there. And if I can't change, like, oh no, wait, we want it to be four stories instead of 2 or 1. You have to have that done at the script stage instead of like, we're filming, you know. That's obvious reasons, but I think people rush into it a little too much, because then they got the money, but is it ready? And so
Is it time?
Yeah,
to
I get that a lot
Yeah.
because my
Is it
husband's a
time?
screenplay consultant, so I get to hear his thoughts, you know, and we do screenplay consulting through Act 1, and it's that we need to, the blueprint needs to be at the highest level of excellence, you know, have professionals read it and give feedback and be okay with it. You know, it's going back to fail fast.
Yes.
You know, if you get notes, great, adjust and move on, you know.
And it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
Christina Lee Storm, thank you so much. This is just good stuff. Okay, I know you all are saying, is it over? It's over for right now, but we'll be back soon. God bless you. Thanks so much for being here. I'm BJ Arnett. We hope you enjoyed it.